Good morning, folks. It's your bro, Rich here. Today in this video, I'm back with another car explanation video for y'all. Today in this video, I'll be talking to y'all about one of the coolest classic muscle cars in the world. Today in this video, I'll be talking to y'all about the Buick Gran Sport. Now, there's a few different versions of the Gran Sport, like based on different looks, different styling, all that kind of stuff. So, before I get started, make sure you all like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you literally when I make brand new uploads. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. So the Buick Gran Sport, here we go. So, the Gran Sport name has been used on several high performance cars built by GM, General Motors, obviously of course, for its Buick brand since 1965. So since the mid 60s. In the GM brand's hierarchy, Buick was surpassed in both luxury and comfort appointments only by Cadillac, which didn't produce performance models. As a result, the Buick GS series, the Buick GS series, or the most opulently equipped GM sports models of their era. Product type was performance cars. Owner and when it was produced by were both by General Motors. It was introduced 60 years ago, back in 1965. Its related brands were the Buick T-Type, and the markets were the US, obviously. So as a result, the Buick GS series were the most opulently equipped GM sports models of their era. The Gran Sport performance enhancements on all Buick products during this era sought to affirm Buick's tradition of producing both powerful and comfortable products going back to the 1930s. So going back to the 30s, when all Buicks of the time were upgraded to the Buick Fireball inline 8 or straight 8. It's like an inline 6 but with 2 extra cylinders in line. So upgraded to the Buick Fireball straight 8. Then installed the 4.6 liter the 4.6 liter 278 Roadmaster V8 motor in the shortest model special, and introduced the Century, known as the Banker's Hot Rod, with a 3-speed synchromesh manual. The GS sought to identify cars that were fun to drive. So the Gran Sport sought to identify cars that were fun to drive with a luxury approach. Next we got is the Skylark. Next one we got is the Skylark based Gran Sports. So the 1965 Skylark GS was the intermediate Buick Skylark with the GS option added. Although a 4.9 liter 300 V8 was already offered in the Skylark, the GS had the largest motor permitted by GM, a mighty 6.6 liter 4 a mighty 6.6 liter say 6.6 liter 6.6 liter 401 Buick V8, called a 400 because Buick called a 400 by Buick because that was the maximum engine size allowed in intermediate mighty cars. This motor produced 325 horsepower and 445 pound-feet, 603 newton meters of torque, and was known as the nailhead motor. Pretty good performance, not bad. Anyways, Buick sold more than 15,000 Skylarks with a GS option that first year, and almost as many the next. It was renamed the GS 400. Kind of sounds confusing. Kind of sounds like a term Lexus would kind of use. GS might not. And it's a little bit confusing. Anyways, it was renamed the GS. It was renamed the GS 400 in 1967, and the Gran Sport, short for GS, um, because its own model in about that same year. So in about that same year, along with a new 400 motor, quite different from the famously reliable but becoming obsolete nailhead motor design. So nailhead motor design that was first introduced in 1953. Sales fell somewhat in the face of increasingly higher performance and more popular muscle cars. From other marquees, including corporate stablemates Pontiac GTO, Chevelle SS, and also Pontiac GTO, Chevy Chevelle SS, and Oldsmobile 442. When compared to those from the more both conservative and luxurious Buick, when compared to those from the more conservative and luxurious Buick, however, stepped it up a notch when introducing the stage one option in 1969. This limited production, less than 1,500 cars in 1969 version. So this limited production version, less than 1,500 cars, in 1969, delivered 340 horsepower and 440 pound-feet, 600 newton meters of torque, makes the same power as a Mark V Supra. But the only difference is that car, not the Supra but the Buick, has nearly 100, over 70 pound-feet, 100 newton meters more torque than the Supra. That's crazy. This limited production version, less than 1,500 cars in 1969, delivered 340 horsepower and 440 pound-feet, 600 and 440 pound-feet, 600 newton meters of torque. Pretty good. The name Gran Sport replaced the GS nickname with the 1973 Gran Sport, and was again revived in the late 1980s on the front-wheel drive Skylark model with various performance options added. Next up is the GS California. So Buick touted the California as the distinctive personal car for Americana on the go using the Skylark platform. The merchandising creation of the West Coast's Mickey Garrett, Mickey Garrett, the California GS became one of Buick's entries into what's now often known as a junior now often known as a junior muscle car. So as a junior muscle car. So junior muscle car. So muscle car. The intent of these autos so the intent of these cars were to provide the visual impact of the era's supercars with a low maintenance and price of a more economical car while maintaining reasonable performance levels. When reviewed with these thoughts in mind, the California the Cal the Calif the Cal the California GS delivered quite nicely. They are fitted with the small block GS drivetrain and the exterior received the full treatment including vinyl top, chrome mount, vinyl top, vinyl top, chrome molding pack, GS emblems and special California scripts. Special California scripts. This marketing approach was also used in Colorado, using the Colorado name instead of California. Instead of California. 1967 was the maiden year for the Cal. So 1969, not 69, sorry, 1967 was the maiden year for the California GS. It was only available in California and was it was only available in California and was and so it was only available in California and wasn't advertised nationally by Buick. Built on the thin pillar coupe chassis it came with the 340 260 horsepower motor and the super turbine 300 gearbox. Bench seats were standard, and accessories were kept to a minimum to help keep the price down, so to keep the price cheaper. Car Life Car Life tested one in their June issue and ran the quarter mile in 16.7 seconds. In 16.7 seconds at 81 miles an hour. So they also recorded a top speed of 105 miles an hour. The article contains a lengthy description of the car and how it performed during testing. It's a must read for anyone interested in learning about so it's a must read for anyone interested in learning more about the 67 California GS. So it's equipped with a 5 point not 5.1 so 5.5 liter 360 horsepower motor. So super turbine 300 transmission. Bench seats were standard and accessories were kept to a minimum to help keep the price cheaper. Car Life tested one in their June issue and ran a quarter mile in 16.7 seconds at 81 miles an hour. They also recorded a top speed of 105 miles an hour. The article contains a lengthy description of the car and how it performed during testing. It's a must read for anyone interested in learning more. It's a must read for anyone interested in learning more about the 67 California GS. Mid-year 1968 saw the official intro of the California. So, mid-year 1968 saw the official intro of the California GS, and it's frequently known as a 69 model. Buick asked, why settle for less when the California GS, built especially for you, costs no more? Exclusively designed for Golden State motorists, Buick advertised the car nationally as a high-performance family sports car at an economy car price. Though the car wasn't included in Buick's yearly catalog, it was shown in a two-page black and white fold-out brochure. Custom California GS again graced the rear fenders, while GS ornamentation could be found in both the grille and sail panels. The drivetrain included Buick's new for 1968 5.7 liter 350 um, 4 barrel V8 with a 10.25 to 1 compression ratio, and GM's Rochester 4GC Quadrajet 4 barrel carburetor, producing 280 horsepower and 375 pound-feet of torque. That's pretty cool, pretty good. The two-speed super turbine 300 gearbox, driving a 3.23 to 1 rear axle gear ratio, designed for highway cruising, and bench seat interior were again the only choices. Buick also added chrome-plated wheels and an air cleaner lid to the two-door thin pillar coupe. Tires were 7 by 7 5-inch on 14-inch rims. 1969 was the final year of production for the California GS. The car was for the first time featured in Buick's. So the car was for the first time featured in Buick's big brochure, a two-page color picture of the thin pillar coupe and pictures of the standard bench standard bench seat interior were included, along with equipment descriptions. Tom McCallie, not Callie, sorry, Tom McCahill. There we go. Tom McCahill. So Tom McCahill tested the car and recorded a 0 to 60 time of 9.5 seconds. That's snail speed. It's so slow. 9.5 seconds. And a top speed of 110 miles. And a top speed of 110 miles an hour. 2 miles an hour less than what it would be limited to if it was in Japan. Because in Japan, all cars are limited by 112 miles an hour. 180 kilometers an hour. Are you kidding me? Tom McCahill. So Tom McCahill tested the car and recorded a 0 to 60 mile an hour time of 9.5 seconds at a top speed of 110 miles an hour. Again, the car came with a Buick's 5.7 liter 350 4 barrel V8 with 280 horsepower, but now it was mated to the new turbo 350 gearbox. Custom California emblems again graced the rear fenders, and the rear marker lights were plain red without Buick's standard 5.7 liter 350 or 6.6 liter 400 script. Vinyl tops, as with previous years, were standard fare with the California's distinctive GS logo on the sail panel. Next is the Gran Sport. So next is the GS 340 slash. So 350 is 5.7 liters, 400 is 6.6 liters. Okay, next is the Gran Sport 340. So next is the Gran Sport 340 slash 350. In 67, Buick added a 5.5 liter 340 version. There was the GS 340 and both that and the GS California submodel. Little more than the Skylark hardtop, with both new badging and trim. The th- the 340, so the 5.5 liter 340 V8 produced 260 horsepower and 365 pound-feet, 495 uh, so 365 pound-feet, 495 newtons of torque, and less than 4,000 cars were sold. It was replaced the next year with the GS 350 5.7 liter V8 and similar GS California. These used Buick's 5 these used Buick's 5 point these used Buick's 5.7 liter 350 small block V8s. So these use Buick's 5.7 liter 350 small block V8 motor, a California two-door coupe. A California two-door coupe appeared in 1969. Total GS sales for the year, not counting the new California coupe, were 12,460. So we're 12,465. So 12,465. 4,993 GS 5.7 liter 350 V8s and 7,532 GS 6.6 liter 400s. Sales of the GS 350 for 1970 climbed to 9,948, almost 10,000. In addition, 10,148 7.5 liter 454, well 455 technically, 7.5 liter 455, so 7.5 liter 7.5 liter 455, so 7.5 liter 455 V8 two doors were built. The GS 350 outlived its big brothers, lasting until V8 V8 GS production stopped in 1975, replaced by the GS 231. Next is the GS 400. In both 68 and 69, Buick offered the GS 400 in a convertible and hardtop model. Standard issues of the GS 400 was a 6.6 liter 400 V8 with likely lower stated horsepower rating to keep insurance premiums cheaper, of 340 horsepower, well 350 horsepower for the stage 1 tune, and 440 pound-feet of torque. And was included with a 4-barrel Rochester quadrajet carburetor, dual exhaust, 2.93 standard gear ratio, optional with LSD differential, 3.64 stage 1 option, 3.42 with air conditioning, and the available 3-speed turbo super turbine 400 automatic, revered as the finest automatic ever built, and commonly called Turbo 400. U-shaped Hurst shifter and linkage for the automatics located on a center console. A 68 or 69 GS 400 equipped with a TH 400 automatic was faster off the line than many of its contemporaries, thanks to an unusually low first gear shift pattern for the TH400 from most forward position is park reverse neutral drive second first. A standard 3-speed or optional 4-speed manual was also available. Compression ratio on this motor was a moderately high 10.25 to 1, which allowed for the use of any grade gasoline to be used in standard driving without pinging. The factory air cleaner was covered with a large round chromed cover, secured with a wing nut. The small air scoop behind the hood hinge line on the 68 models were generally fake, although it could be functional afforded with a very rare ram air pack. Although it could be functional afforded with a very rare ram air pack, 69 brought ram air as standard to the GS. Like all of the GM versions of this body style in this period, the convertible chassis was considerably more robust than the hardtop version. In fact, the convertible chassis was a full box. The convertible chassis was a full box frame. The convertible chassis was a full box frame chassis that had numerous lightning holes. The hardtop chassis was a 3/4, so 75% box frame with no lightened holes. The only GM hardtop ever built with the Swiss cheese convertible chassis was the GTO Judge. Same chassis. All of the GS 400 convertibles were built at GM's assembly line in Fremont, California. In Fremont, California. Next up is the GS 455. The 400 was replaced for 1970 with a 7.5 liter Buick 450. So it was replaced for the 400 was replaced for 1970 with a 7.5 liter Buick 455 V8 motor used in the GS 455. The base model was rated at 350 horsepower and 510 pound-feet, 700 newton meters of torque. So 700 newton meters of torque at 2800 RPM. Don't know the RPM for the horsepower, but oh well. So 2800 RPM for the torque configuration. In the optional stage 1 trim equipped with a single 4-barrel Rochester quadrajet carburetor was rated at 4600 RPM at an SAE gross of 360 horsepower. So SAE gross at 4600 RPM and at 2800 RPM 500 510 pound-feet, 700 newton meters was so 510 pound-feet, 700 newton meters. It's like 71 kilos per mile or something like that, per meter, whatever it is. Torque at 2800 RPM. As with all American motors produced prior to the 72 model year, these were SAE gross ratings, which are generally significantly higher than SAE net rate, which are generally significantly higher than SAE net ratings, and in are not indicative of what actual production motors produce in their as installed condition, with all motor accessories and full exhaust system in place. The fastest magazine test results from this period were obtained by Motor Trend magazine, which managed to extract at 13.38 ET, so I think it's Eastern time or whatever it was, at 105.5 miles an hour from their 3,810 pound GS Stage 1 Coupe test car using Hale's trap speed formula. This result indicated actual as installed peak HP of approximately 360 SAE net horsepower, ironically the same as its advertised gross figure, meaning this motor was very conservatively rated for that time period. Dennis Manor, Buick engine development Buick engine development engineer, still recalls the production line pulled motor dyno test results from 1970, where the lowest horsepower output of the 15 tested 455 stage 1 so 15 tested 455 stage 1 motors was 376 horsepower. The December 2004 issue 2000 so the December 2004 issue, a year before I was born, the December 2004 issue of Muscle Car Enthusiast magazine conducted a motor dynamometer test of a freshly rebuilt and well documented 1970 455 stage 1 board .040 over to 464 cubic inches and minus the power robbing factory engine fan, air cleaner assembly and mufflers. So 464, I suppose that's 7.7 liters. Not too bad, pretty good. So over to 464 cubic inches and minus the power robbing factory engine fan, or motor fan, air cleaner assembly and mufflers. In that condition and with both factory timing and carburetor tuning, the motor produced a maximum of 360.9 gross horsepower. Optimal carburetor and ignition tuning yielded optimal carburetor and ignition tuning yielded a peak peak gross horsepower rating of 382 horsepower. Well, 381.7, I just right up. Again with no engine fan, air cleaner, or mufflers in place.